Hello everyone, Moino Way from Burkir again as always and as usual. I'm going to be covering another spirit from the grimoire of Turiel, stating he is one of the spirits of Mercury, or just plain he is one of the spirits of Mercury by the name of Tarmiel. That is spelled Tarmiel, as you can see. And one of the very few times that also in Gustav's A Dictionary of Angels, a book I usually find more information about spirits in, especially angels, obviously. The name is a dead giveaway. There is also nothing mentioned in it. So there is no information on Tarmiel. I'm just gonna, from henceforth, I'm gonna pronounce his name in a flat manner, Tarmiel, just because I like it personally. So yeah, let's dive right into it. Now, it's mentioned that he is a spirit of Mercury, right? So let's start off with his attributes. He is indeed, he does indeed have heavy mercurial influences, but not to the point where you can specifically classify him as being mercurial. He has his strongest influences are mercurial and solar, unsurprisingly. It's again, I need to remind people for the so many a time the bond that the sun and Mercury and vice versa have with each other. Yeah, and let me see. Um, but even when it comes to the solar influences, there is a heavy intertwinement with Mercury, specifically its underlying zodiac sign, Virgo. As for the sun, it's straightforward. The only zodiac sign that the sun rules over is Leo. Um, so you can keep that in mind. So in terms of working with Tarmiel, for those that want to work with him, you can choose either solar or mercurial or vice versa correspondences. So, for example, referring to days, Wednesday or Sundays, obviously. Now, in terms of his specialties are money, wealth, especially or primarily, firstly and foremostly through work related means. So anything labor related, anything work related, anything career related, you name it. And yeah, working with him will make it so that thanks to his energy, that you will manage your finances well, either as an employee or someone in charge of a company in any way, shape, and or form, whether it's department head, supervisor, or the outright CEO, you name it, or the owner, you name it. Now, let me see what else there is to cover that I can mention. Yeah, there is one drawback in terms of working with Tarmiel, and that drawback is that he will essentially, as a result of his energy, as a so-called side effect, a negative side effect, he will make it so that you will butt heads here and there with the people you work with and or are involved with for work-related purposes. Um, Essentially in such a way that um, you will, for example, demand perfection, or you'll demand things be done in the utmost rightest of ways, and sooner or later you'll find someone that doesn't exactly share that opinion fully or wholly in regards to being a colleague or a business associate or anyone relating to that. And it's going to lead to friction in the sense that you will insist that, hey, my way is the only way, period. And yeah, for the rest, it just goes on like that. So that's something that you definitely need to be aware of. Um, I would say the benefits outweigh the drawbacks on paper at least, but again, it's not a black and white issue. It all depends on you as an operator and an individual. Um, what you want. It's essentially measuring, engaging, and vice versa. In terms of alignment, so what kind of spirit Tarmiel is? Tarmiel is an unclassified elemental spirit, specifically aligning with the element air. Now, you need to understand that this is purely for the sake of classification, but what I just said, he is unclassifiable, so you can't pigeonhole him or categorize him or box him up and label him, so to speak, and etc., etc. No, Tarmiel is not. He's just another one of those unclassified spirits. In a manner of speaking, just another one of those unclassified spirits. But if you absolutely want to classify him, then everything I said up to this point will help you greatly on your way. Not a surprise, considering that both the Sun and Mercury obviously has heavy affiliations with the air, or I'm sorry, with air, plain air. The Sun ruling air elementally, and Mercury, by default having zodiacally and astrologically, Mercury being the planet that deals the most with air, I would say. But it's not a black and white issue. But in general, yeah, with Gemini, definitely. With Virgo, not. But with Gemini, yeah, definitely. Anyways, Tarmiel is also quite strong, very strong, and also forceful in terms of putting, getting to work and just getting down to business. Um, Not pushy as in coercive or anything like that. Essentially having a strong mentality, a mentality of let's get to things, bam, a go-getter mentality. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, no playing around. Okay, you work with Tarmiel, you want to work with Tarmiel, you better hold on to your chair, so to speak. And last but not least, his appearance, quite interesting. Out of all the, I think, hundreds of spirits I've summoned in my life, Tarmiel appears as almost a grim reaper looking entity or being, but very aerial, almost like a specter, essentially. A creature that is in the shape of a man dressed in a robe and a hoodie. But or a robe with a hoodie, better said, and he has a sight in his hand. But you can't make out facial features or distinguish any because it's all air, essentially a heap of air, almost like smoke in the shape of a man. And his voice is also quite like that. His voice matches his appearance. I'm gonna play a quick snippet from you guys for you guys from ages ago, or better said, lifetimes ago, when I was still a kid. There was a video game I played called Disciples 2 Dark Prophecy. And despite the fact that it's been decades, I still remember some of the voice commands when you click on some of the characters, or just simply put the things they say. And I remember his voice being quite similar, not identical, but quite similar to the point where it's the only example I can give that gives you a realistic idea of what Tarmiel sounds like to what I'm about to play for you guys. So again, what I'm about to play gives you an idea as to what Tarmiel sounds like, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
I live but to serve, my lord. Speak thy command, lord. For the Empire! I sense evil sorcery in the works here.
Essentially, what Tarmiel sounds like, just to give you an idea. Again, not literally, but the closest thing I can come up with in terms of a practical example. It doesn't make him any less understandable. You can understand everything he's saying clearly, so that's not an issue. Um, and again, heavy emphasis with the laid on air because he could read my mind considerably more easily than the average spirit I summon or the spirits I've covered in the past for obvious reasons. And it just goes on like that. Anyways, that is all. Bye.